All right, we're live on the Independent Investor Channel, live stream number 75. Honestly, to say it like that, it's pretty amazing. We've kind of built this product and made it kind of a mainstay on Friday evening, providing the opportunity to bring people together around a topic that really is aimed at helping people with their financial awareness, their financial stewardship, uh, evolve in their own applications. Certainly, there's going to be a lot of different programs that are going to be deployed when you bring people together like this, and it's awesome. It's awesome to have a good time with this topic. It's my favorite topic. I wasn't blessed with any other skill in life. Just kidding. I do have a few, but this is my most enjoyable. And it's typically the most enjoyable for me when I'm actually sitting across from somebody and providing some financial coaching and awareness. A lot of people are lost. They really are. And so I really try to take a step back. And for you guys that are new to the live stream, I'd like to welcome you to the Independent Investor Channel. My name is Ryan. You can see the thread that's building on the live stream. Certainly feel free to leave your comments there. There's a great representation from the YouTube community, that of which I respect everyone in here that's made their way into the live stream on a Friday evening, who can also help me field questions. I'm usually pretty good about filtering through and making sure that if somebody does make their way into the live stream, that we get the proper attention put on wherever you are in your investing evolution. If you're a non-investor, if you're a beginning investor, if you're an investor that's got some years in the market, but maybe less than 10 years, or maybe somebody that's been in the market for more than a decade, it really doesn't matter. Each and every person that's categorized in that different placement in your evolution never ever has the ability to not continue to evolve as an investor. Super important. The landscape changes so often and so frequently. It is not conducive to allow complacency in the investing landscape. It just doesn't. It doesn't allow for it. And I know there's a lot of people out there who would like to believe that they have everything figured out. I talk to them all the time. And I think that can really be one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in setting up some barriers for yourself. I would encourage each and every one of you guys, if you are in any one of those categories, to open your mind a little bit, to learning a little bit of philosophy, fundamental approaches to investing. I've said many times, and it was brought up by my good brother, J Mac Investing, who's in the house tonight, talking about the YouTube community. I think relative to the need out there and people really acknowledging YouTube as a legitimate source of information from an awareness perspective. And sure, throw the entertainment word in there if you'd like. That's totally fine with me, because I think finances is fun. I think a lot of people dread the topic. However, I do say that there are a lot in this community, and for the few people that I prescribe to on their message, there's a lot of them represented in the group here. I just saw GW Live TV. And I got J Mac Investing in the group. Investing with Aaron was the first channel creator that popped into the live stream tonight. If you're new to the live stream, you're catching this on the replay on Saturday or Sunday, absolutely kick over and help these guys support their channels, these guys and gals. I've got Lydia in the group as well. Thank you for coming in on a busy Friday night. I know everybody's got busy schedules, but I really appreciate the support for at least a small 2-hour window. Hidden Freedom Investing has made his way into the group, and for that I'm grateful. I will make a couple milestone shout outs, at least for the community that I follow this week. Number one was a big one. Ryan Scribner went over 500,000 subscribers. He is my brother from another mother. So my shout out to him. He was the first one that kind of took me under my wing. My delivery wouldn't change if I had 17.4 thousand subscribers or 100,000 subscribers or 50 subscribers. But he was the first one that really kind of took me in and helped provide me some of the referrals that I try to pay forward to all the channel creators that are trying to cut teeth and get to that first 1,000 subscribers. There was another milestone this week. Gen X dividend investor made 1,000 subscribers. So it's nice to see that K in front of his subscriber base. So absolute congratulations. Well deserved. I mean, I cannot understate how deserved that is. I would actually like to see an M instead of a K in front of that subscriber base. And I actually have no doubt that in due time, that is what will transpire for Gen X dividend investors. So he is also in the group. Certainly, if you have questions, I've got Money Matters as well. So just a ton. I don't think I missed anybody. I usually don't. So for you guys that have made your way in here and you want to direct your questions, you can absolutely do that. I've got something kind of special planned for tonight. I really want to break down. I know there's a lot of portfolio reviews that are popping onto YouTube, and that's all great and plenty. We always need to be mindful of how that impacts the viewer. At the end of the day, money is a very serious topic. Okay. We've got people from all different walks of life. We've got people from all different age categories. We need to understand that there are answers to fundamental questions that are going to render a lot of different results for a lot of different people. And that's totally fine. We talk about what some of those questions and answers could be for individuals. For example, what is my risk tolerance? What is my financial goal? Why the hell invest? Why? Why do this? Why get involved? Why, Ryan? I've been happy my whole life. Is it for financial freedom? Me personally, not so much. I can honestly say I've been given the greatest gift in my life that I could have been ever provided. And in one word, that is perspective. I've always felt like for the last 20 years, I've been wealthy. Most of my whole life, I have felt that way. And I think a lot of people would probably kill to have the perspective that I've got. The money in and of itself is a byproduct of a program that I believe in wholeheartedly and that I deploy aggressively. I'm very aware of the market. I pay attention. So I would challenge each and every one of you guys to ask yourself going into 2020, what does investing mean to you? Why invest? Where is it on your priority list in your life? And again, I typically try to aim this message to new investors that may be making their way onto the channel, and you will get my undivided attention. Undivided. Okay. All joking aside, we typically have a pretty good time in here. So if you do have a beverage of choice, I highly encourage you to go ahead and crack it open. I've got a dark roast coffee with some peppermint and French vanilla creamer tonight. So I am fired up. I am absolutely fired up. I'll be disclosing some of the cherries on the top of the portfolio that I've put on this week. With some staunch deliberation, I will add. Okay, they were not made lightly at all. I am making a strategic plan for myself to kind of put my accounts on moratorium. And what that means is I'm going to put them on lockdown, baby. No more activity in the accounts. I've got them set up the way that I want. They're all set up on the drip. For you guys that are new investors, and that term, if I throw terms out there that perk your curiosity, they should. They should. I've just recently disclosed on the channel, and I'll be chronicling some of my investing journey over the last 5 years. But what renders credibility in the investing world, as far as I'm concerned, is results. Absolutely. And I typically deliver this message in way of a testimonial. So for you guys that don't think that you can come on to YouTube and receive some level of financial savvy, you would be wrong. Okay. You need to get with the program. Okay. Stop holding your surfboard on the beach and go catch a wave. Okay. Because the landscape is changing, and it's changing radically. I've watched it change in the 3-year evolution of the independent investor channel. We've moved so far along the lines of defining the opportunity for investors specific to the accounts that you can own. The cost to enter into equities has dropped to zero. The opportunity to obtain information has never been better. The opportunity to define yourself as either a passive or an active investor is right there, clear as a bell. So there really isn't any further excuse that you need to put forward out there to say that I can't invest, or these are the reasons why I can't invest. I think there's probably a counter opportunity to be rendered for you to give you some sort of explanation as to why you may want to reconsider your opportunity. Jump in the water and grab that thing. Now, we don't need any surfing lessons, okay? We contend on this channel that the best way to learn how to surf is to get your ass out there and get yourself, get your butt kicked a few times, give it a good try. But we do absolutely talk along the lines of mental preparation. We certainly want to give people the best opportunity that they can to get invested, but there is no substitute for actually investing in the stock market. There isn't. And the barriers to entry have never ever been so diminished than they are now. There is absolutely no excuse with the ease of access that each and every person that seeks out access to the stock market cannot gain the level of access that they want. Okay. And it's usually rendered through the type of account that you choose. Okay. So one of those critical decisions that I'll get in a little bit later when we kind of are getting into the discussion a little bit deeper. I will talk a little bit more in length about that. I just saw Big Ben's road to early retirement. He's going to get his shot out before 15 minutes. I actually extended a personal invite to Big Ben's road to early retirement. It's just kind of catchy. You talk about financial goals. I think that's an awesome one. I have a little bit deeper perspective on what I think retirement is. Um, and I would typically chalk up retirement to something that probably isn't something that I would put as a goal of mine, but I think that's pretty cool, and it's possible nowadays. When I was talking about those results on the channel, tripling the account over the last 5 years. Now I've done that times two. I think that absolutely gives me enough validation, at least, to sit across from an audience and offer my story. And that's basically what this is. And the cool thing about a community like this is you kick into a hidden freedom investing or a JMac or a Gen X dividend investor. There's not one of us that's the same at all. We're completely different. I think the common thread between all of us is that we're trying to improve upon our lives. We're trying to strive towards something that's special. Little bit of risk taking, strategic risk taking, I will say. Okay, um, this isn't a constant attempt at the lottery. I always get entertained a little bit when I talk to people, and to each his own. I'm not anybody's dad for for judging as far as what you want to do for your entertainment, but it always intrigues me a little bit. People who play the lottery or play cards for a living and play blackjack or whatever. I don't know. For me personally, the stock market has just always been a place where I really haven't had a whole lot of problem rendering results. And And I do believe it's one of those scalable uh, 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 things that you can do to assist in building wealth. I think it's one of those things that when you start on your investing journey, it's a little less evident to you, but it becomes more evident as those dollars start to organically grow in the account. And I think you start investing with the prospects of getting that validation down the line, and then when you finally start to get them, it's actually pretty interesting. So, again, welcome to everybody. I really appreciate everybody taking their time. I really think I got everybody. I see a bunch of people. Victor Hernandez has just popped in. Also, a lot of familiar faces for sure. I see Abram Nar. I'm gonna head up to the comments, but I'm pretty certain I got everybody that's a channel creator in the group with their proper shout out. Really appreciate you guys. Let's take this thing into 2020 in a big way. I know there's been some discussion about some defensive positioning. I'd like to understand a little bit more. I asked for some clarity on what people are doing as far as that goes. Um, I I've made some stock purchases this week, actually. It kind of goes in with the whole, when you should invest. We've already talked about why invest. I think for me, it's a lot deeper of a meaning. I've said many times on the channel, and I've got some grief for it. Money in and of itself really shouldn't be the sole motivator as to why you invest. Okay, um, building wealth is different for me than profit. Okay, generating or building wealth, those two things are different. If your sole motivation is money, you may be sorely disappointed if that is your reason for investing. All right. You really have to have a little bit more rationale as to why you put capital to risk in this market. I really do. Um, for me, the idea of financial security down the line, but it's even more simple if I were able to reflect back on my life and think about the decisions that I've made and try to keep the regret as low as I can. Did I do everything that I possibly could do for me and my family for the future? And I talk to people all the time, and I find this very ironic, and it goes in line with my financial goal of at least curbing regret or minimizing the regret you could potentially have. How many people have you guys ever talked to in life when they get a little bit older and they are reflecting back? They always say, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have done more. The obvious truth in the matter is that we've only got one shot at this gig. Okay. We don't get a redo. Okay. Um, the stock market is either going to be conducive or non conducive over the course of your opportunity. The idea is to expand upon your exposure time in the market. And that way you have the best shot of rendering that wealth building strategy that we talk about. And it takes a little bit of trust. That's why I talk about if you get in the market and it dropped pretty heavy beginning of the week this week, if you get in the market on a day like that or within the last month and you see that money jarringly adjust back on you and your sole motivation is money in and of itself, that's enough to scare a lot of people right out of the stock market. I'm in trouble. I got to pull everything out. You are not prepared to be an investor if that's your knee jerk reaction every time the market decides to hiccup on you. Okay. So just be kind of careful a little bit when you are answering. I'm going to run through the 6 critical questions. There's going to be 5 that I'm going to cover. Then I'm going to talk about the sixth, which is the most important, and that is how to invest in the stock market. It is the most common, but not to be overlooked as to its important on how you strategically do it. If you've gone through the deliberation of answering the why, who, what, where, and when to invest, and you're ready to answer the how the hell do I do this thing? All right, stay tuned. We're going to jump into that. And I take my delivery on the live stream very, very serious. I'm very, very careful with offering my perspective from an awareness type of address to the folks that make their way in here. I have no idea who's going to seek out this opportunity and consume the content. So we try to stay somewhat close to the vest, because the last thing that I want to do is to turn somebody on to the stock market that is not prepared to accept the level of responsibility necessary to succeed. Okay, I'll just save you some sleepless nights. Okay, I would rather you not do it. Okay, eventually, I would love everybody to come around and really understand the benefits of how they are going to go about seeking their exposure to the market, but not until they've been able to answer the five questions of when, where, what, who, and why they're doing what they're doing. If you can't explain any of that, okay, you just need to go back and spend a little bit more time doing it, because at the end of the day, that's the beautiful thing about a YouTube community like this that is aimed at bringing people together, no judgments whatsoever. I don't operate with the impression that the status quo puts on the topic of money, and that it has to be an uncomfortable situation. You're not going to hear me apologize for that. Okay. You're not. I talk as openly about money on my channel as I possibly can. Why? Because I don't buy into the stigma of money. I think a lot of people feel like they have to go at it alone. And that is also a misconception. Now, 20 years ago, I would say that that statement was a lot more valid than it is now. But I think there's a lot of people that would agree with me in that I've learned just as much being part of this community. I've learned just as much as you have. Okay. And it is amazing in retrospect how quickly the landscape has changed, how it's evolved for the better. Are we making a difference? I don't know. There'll be 1,000 people that watch this live stream after it gets posted to YouTube. Comparatively speaking, it's an extremely small drop in the bucket, but it is a drop, and it is a start for the people who are actually making their way into this fine community, and they're consuming content from some of these channel creators. I would throw myself in there as well, because I've seen it many, many, many times when I'm able to deliver the message to somebody as I had it delivered to me back a few years ago, right? When I was introduced to investing, it can be life changing. Let that sink in for a second. Because if you want to watch content for entertainment, go ahead. Okay. If you want to watch Netflix and watch a sitcom, that's fine. I hear Mandalorian is really good on the Disney, the new streaming service. I hear Jack Ryan is really, really good. Bought Amazon this week. I hear that's really, really good. But if you want a piece of life-changing information, and for a lot of the channel creators, I know there's different varying brackets of different portfolios that are floating through the live stream. You guys may or may not have that validation yet. You're working on faith. You're working on the statistics and mathematics that you've done to justify why it is it's worth going after that compounding interest down the line. But you might not quite have that validation. You're going to have it. You're going to have it. On the flip side of the coin, to get to that validation stage, you're also going to have to go through some bumps in the road. Okay. So if you also want to come on to the Independent Investor channel, be entertained, I don't know. I've got a pretty dry sense of humor. I throw a few jokes in there every now and then. We do typically have a pretty good time, but I typically try to stay as close to the vest and understanding that there might be one person who tunes into this message and has the opportunity to consume a piece of life changing information. And that I take extremely seriously, extremely serious. All right. So I'm going to get to the discussion, guys. I will try to incorporate a lot of the different lessons. I've already touched on why invest, but it's something for you guys to take and ask yourself rhetorically. I know some of the people in the group and why they invest. Pretty darn cool. It's pretty cool to hear why people invest. Lots of different reasons across the spectrum. Make sure you have that answer for yourself. Okay, make sure. I can tell you right now, I do not invest to run a YouTube channel. I can tell you that much right now. Okay. Um, my perspective that I talked about at the top of the live stream, I've been very blessed. And my perspective and happiness in life has absolutely nothing to do with the size of my bank account and has nothing to do with the size of my YouTube channel, to be quite frank about it. The only thing that I tend to try to focus on with regard to the subscriber count is that one investor. Okay. What I've said from the beginning and the inception of the channel is our goal is to empower one investor at a time. And when I talk about life-changing information, that's exactly what I mean. In the right hands, this information is empowering. It will take somebody that was destined for a life of potential mediocrity, and I'm talking along the financial perspective, and giving the tools and the power to increase the degree of success that is over and above what that person was predestined to realize in their life. That's powerful stuff. All right, guys. All right, cool. Let me jump in here, man. We're going to engage with the group. I've got Matt from Canada. It's pretty awesome, man. He says, Baby Yoda. I got to try one of those Starbucks things. I don't know. The Starbucks stock has been really, really good. I'm glad to finally, I've owned it before. I've made good money. I've traded in and out of the stock, but it's amazing how I can take a Canada and a Yoda comment and turn it into a stock analysis on the new Baby Yoda that they're serving to people. But I'm glad to have the stock in my portfolio. Just one of the few additions to the portfolio over the last couple months or so. I do want to give the three cherries in the portfolio within 30 minutes for the people who come in and they tune off. I've got a pretty large group in here. But I will just disclose the purchases this week, and you guys you may want to just unsubscribe from the channel right now because I went against all my ideals. No, I'm just kidding. In the essence of having full transparency over the channel, I was extremely satisfied with the positions that I had. I really didn't want to add a whole lot of additional shares to the holdings that I've had. I wanted to put some of the house money that I've had and generated over the last few years and the present that I gave to myself as an investor, other than my nice YouTube chair. All right, that's the first thing I've bought myself as far as the channel goes. So I'm super comfortable right now. I usually was sitting on a piece of crap chair with two bolts sticking up out of the bottom. And I could hardly, my back was paralyzed when I was done. This son of a gun, this is comfortable. So I may actually extend it 2 hours. I could probably talk for 5 hours. I don't know. Does anybody know what the YouTube record is, the world record for a financial live stream? I could break it. I have full confidence, full confidence. But the Christmas present that I made to myself was 3 shares of Amazon. Okay. It was one of those things that if I was going to um, define the pinnacle of my portfolio, Amazon is right at the top. And Aside from any type of technical or fundamental basis to buy the stock, went ahead and entered into three shares of Amazon within the Roth. I may end up being a dog in that position. It really does supplement the other two very important aspects of my portfolio. The first being the ETF access for the diversified base, and also the dividend aspect of the portfolio, owning a lot of the big blue chips in there. But to cap off my growth, I had four stocks that have really been in that camp of my absolute faves. Okay. Um, and Amazon is one of them. CRM Salesforce is the other one. So that complements my Roth IRA, and that portfolio will be on lockdown. I won't be trading Amazon anymore. I've just become an investor in it. Had a little bit of a change of heart. I will be actually writing a very detailed plan. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into each of my holdings. Probably, one of my New Year's resolutions is to become a better stock analyzer. Maybe a little bit more in line with the way Gen X dividend investor does it. No, I don't have to be that good. I know who he is, and I'm privileged to know him. He just does a phenomenal job on the channel. But yeah, what I said when I said I'm going to put the portfolio on moratorium, that's kind of what I meant. And I know a lot of you guys are kicking around the idea of kind of putting some defense into the portfolio. I think that's prudent. I think that's prudent. For me, for me, what was prudent is what I did. Okay. And that's the cherry on top in mine. So that's the reveal for mine. You will see that on the portfolio reviews when I continue to roll those out. I know the community appreciates those. I think some highlights from today, obviously 3M. Leggett and Platt, I'm not an investor in 3M, I am, but evidently Leggett and Platt had a good day today. But in the other portfolio, excuse me, the Roth IRA, the first one that I'm talking about, I also went ahead and made a position in Philip Morris, ticker symbol PM. So just a little bit more on the aggressive side. I typically don't try to incorporate morality into my stock purchases, but PM was just too good of a buy. It was just too good for the yield, for the exposure to the company. I ironically made the decision not to buy Altria for all the same reasons. Philip Morris just seemed like it was a better stock purchase. So we went ahead and placed that into the portfolio. A couple others as well that I'll disclose through the course of the live stream. But in the other portfolio, we went ahead and put the cherry on top in that portfolio by buying ticker symbol GOOGL. Class A for Google. We went ahead and bought 4 shares of Google in there. I'm so stoked to own this company. I actually put a small position in Facebook, and I just don't think that there's any better exposure to the ad revenue. They are the kings in the space right now. I don't see that changing anytime in the near future. So Google, number one in the growth category, and then Facebook to supplement that growth. Okay, so you guys see what I did there with allowing myself the privilege. Okay, this isn't necessarily 4 stocks that I would just rush out to and be the first purchase. Okay. I've owned every one of these names, and I've owned Facebook multiple times. I've made money channeling the stock many times this year. You guys know that. I fully disclose all that channeling efforts that I've had in the stock. But I'm satisfied to add a little bit more growth into the portfolio at this point. I'm satisfied going ahead and putting those down. And the portfolios are fine. They're solidified the way that I've want them. I've worked very hard to generate and give myself as much house money padding within the portfolio to justify putting those positions to work. Nothing crazy. I mean, 10 shares of Amazon, good God, will cost you as much as a car. Um, so that was my reason for the 3-share purchase. I wanted to make it kind of relative and appropriate. I didn't really want to make, I mean, it is my biggest holding, obviously, but aside from some of the ETF positions, but single stock, Amazon and Google now are my top holdings. But those are the cherries on top, and I afforded myself that luxury. Investing in companies like that, guys, make no mistake about it. I'm extremely humbled. I do have perspective coming out my ears. I can't tell you how proud I am. And every now and then I'll give myself that acknowledgement and a little bit of pat on the back to say, you know what, these are stocks that I've wanted for a long, long time in the portfolio, not just to trade, but become an investor in. And I've done that. So I take a small moment to take those milestones and acknowledge how happy I am to actually own those for the long term. It'll be interesting. I think those will probably be 4 or 5 percentage point returners into the next couple decades. So we'll see what ends up happening. And we'll live to fight another day. If there was a long shot stock that I would buy right now, I'd buy 100 shares of Uber. So I know Gen X dividend investor likes those crazy investing. Hey, Uber might be number one on Gen X's list. I might be that would shock everybody, to be honest with you. But he'd probably gain 100,000 subscribers if he declared Uber and then said, "Nope, just kidding." I just think that'd be funny. So I don't know. There's only a few people in the live stream right now. The loyal community's in here right now. He's probably laughing. I don't know if he's tuned out already, but that would be funny for sure. But I don't know. Uber looks good right here. So as kind of I still put it in the speculative play. It's a $50 billion company, technology, industrial, transportation. Interesting company, but. I actually see that really being a really big company. It's going to be fun to watch. He's laughing, so he's still in here. I won't be buying Uber. That's not my style. Nor will I be buying Tesla. Which as a speculative long, certainly I would hear out. Remember how I talked about being open? I'm open to anything, and I don't scrutinize. I know if Ryan Giffen is in the group, I know Ryan's a good fan. If not, he has a Tesla, but invest in the stock and likes the company. I like the product and like the company as well. I just question some of the management. That's all. And I'm right in that assessment. Whether or not I'm going to put my own money to work in a company like Tesla, that's a whole nother story. Okay. Investing in Amazon as high a valuation and as high as and as hard to value, you can't really value a company like Amazon. That's the difficulty in investing in it. I've always explained investing in Amazon as being kind of a roller coaster ride. So buckle up. But I'm glad to be a stock owner in relative terms now. So that's kind of where we are, guys. I'm going to kind of cruise up here. Big Ben's road to early retirement says the Tesla truck is just a DeLorean on steroids. I mean, I don't know, man. I thought I was the only one that thought that. I just thought it was the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. I don't know, man. I like my Tacoma. I call me crazy, and I'll put my faith in Toyota. I'm good with that. Hell, my truck was built in the USA. I know it's a foreign company, but geez Louise, I'm fine. I'm good. And I don't know how much the truck will actually finish out at. 50,000, I think, is what was floated. Something like that. I think it'll probably be well north of that. And again, come on, guys. I'm not really into following the crowd. I'm really not into a lot of hype. I would encourage you to take what I just said as a little nugget, because the more unique you can be, and being a self-directed investor is unique in and of itself. You can all be proud of yourselves. Enter into 2020. If you're not a self-directed investor, get the surfboard, get out there and get on the wave. Okay. It's quite liberating. All right. It's a lot of fun. So I really want to, The comments here are just like overwhelming me. So I'm trying to kind of get my entry point here to the thread and see where everybody's at. I got Robert Cardwell. Hey Ryan, how much should valuation matter on individual stocks to somebody like me who is 19 years old? Valuation always matters, but just to say valuation across the board needs to be the sole driver in your seeking out your exposure to the market. You see, valuations are going to differ when you get into each of the 11 sectors. Okay. So when you're talking about a utility valuation, it's going to be a little bit different than that of a technology. Okay. So it's a little bit more acceptable to take a little bit higher valuation in the technology sector, for example, than it would be in the utility sector. To your point, you're 19 years old. Do you really need to be filling your portfolio with utilities? You know, if you want it, they're wonderful. I typically try to abide by a 3 to 4% rule on utilities in the portfolio, but there's not a whole hell of a lot that gets me excited. There's not a lot in the utilities sector except for the top 10 that are talked about all the time. I just took a position in Duke Energy this week in the other portfolio. So to just throw that out, I can throw stock picks at you guys all night. But I actually did invest in Duke Energy, looked at Southern Company, which I know is a favorite of Gen X dividend investor, and decided to hold off on the stock. And it was the right decision. Certainly, if you're a stock owner now, lovely. It's a wonderful company. It's top 10. But I typically try to seek my exposure in utilities with the Vanguard ETF because I just can't make my determination whether I want to buy Nextera individually. I think Fortis is one of my favorites, and I already own that in the first trade account. So, I've got a few favorites, but I think to your question is such a good question. I really appreciate you asking me. Valuation always matters, but here's the thing, at 19, you've got the biggest ace up your sleeve than anybody in this community that's over 19, and that is time. And that is time. The biggest thing that you can do is avoid screw ups. Okay. Stop worrying so much about valuation and consider investing in the best of the best. Okay. If you want to take a starting position in the S&P 500, no problem. And your question brings me to one of my points. When should I invest? Okay. So you just touched on one of my five, six, yes, but five preliminary questions of how important it is to answer this question. When should I invest? I get pulse through the channel all the time telling me when I should invest, why they're not investing, when they're going to invest, when the market dips 50%, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. I don't prescribe to that methodology, but it's entertaining to say the least. Um, but when should you invest? You should invest as early as you possibly can in your life with scale. Okay. What that means is invest early, what you can, and when you can. Okay. Invest early, invest when you can, and what you can. It's that important to be told twice. And if you're paying attention or if you have the earbuds in and you're listening, because I'm speaking directly to you, because this answer is super, super important and it's such a good question. Um, Super, super important to understand that as early as you are, you can start with 25 bucks. If you're a college student, start the account and don't fund it. You know what I'm saying? The psychological barrier that you'll get over by just starting the account and having that drop point available for when you do come into some money, if you graduate from college or you're working through college and money is a little bit tight when you're working through that trying to get your degree, or maybe you've got a good job coming out of high school. I don't know. High school kids nowadays, man, they've got all the opportunities to go. They don't college is not the primary option anymore, folks. For those of you that disagree with me, I would highly recommend that you wake up. Okay, skills matter now in this day and age. And some of these folks that are 19, I don't know anything about you, but don't give away the farm as far as your time. Don't sit on this for 5 years and then get involved in the market. Get involved early, get involved as often as you can. What I mean by that is a dollar cost average. There's very specific reasons why I give you those broad terms when I answer that question. Um, but you'll spend a lifetime evolving your understanding of those very basic terms like dollar cost averaging, what it can mean for you over the lifetime, how a dollar cost average schedule can help you forecast where you could potentially be later on in life. And I got to be honest with you, a lot of people lack that ability of foresight. A lot of people do. And so it's great that you've made your way onto the channel. Uh, um, and you've got somebody like me who can give you one of two options. Either you do have that ability and say, Ryan, I get it, man. I'm fired up. I love investing. I get it. I understand why. Or I need to work a little bit in understanding, in answering the question, why should I invest? Okay. Awesome. Awesome question. I really appreciate it. I've got Chris Jordan I'm at the bottom of the thread, guys. I have to stay at the bottom and work my way up. It's a little different approach, but that's what I'm going to do because I've got 100 million comments in here, and that's fine. I have a good job without a degree. It's possible. It's the legal world too. It's so true. I don't mean to take away. I did go to college. Um, probably didn't lend a whole lot to where I'm at in life. I think personal finance is super important to learn, and you're not going to get a whole lot of that education in the schools. I'm Big Ben saying trade schools. Amen to that, brother. That's what I'm talking about. There's 5 million unfilled jobs right now in the trades. My brother's a high voltage electrician, and he makes really good money, does really well, and that's exactly what he did. And I would throw carpentry and plumbing. Why not welding? Throw all three of those in there, all four of those trades, and there's some real opportunity there for sure. Do what you love. And he's an electrician. That has nothing to do with personal finance. But if you're doing what you love, and then take a program like mine and deploy it to supplement what it is you're passionate about, yeah, the sky's the limit for you. It's awesome. Really, really good stuff, man. Appreciate you offering that for sure. Um, Cadger of VPU is 10.34. Appreciate that, JMac. I know JMac's doing a Vanguard versus Fidelity contest. I like it, man. I'm up 12% in my M1 Finance portfolio. I need to review that again. It dipped down above, it was just above 10, I guess, during the 2 days of volatility. But the M1 Finance account, man, if you match my allocation that I've got and you want to do a little contest with 2,500 bucks, man, I think that'd be pretty fun to see. I think you've got a lower expense on the Fidelity Spiders than I do. I'm pretty sure. I know JMac prefers the Fidelity products, which, I mean, good God, guys. I mean, I'm not going to split hairs with you. That's for sure. We're talking about premium products on the market. And you can win with either one of them. I just think it's cool by nature of discussion. You can look at those, tenths and hundreds of basis points and make your decision, picking the very, very lowest fee in the industry, giving you similar exposure to whatever sector or total market you want. I think it's legit. The only beneficiary of that deliberation, man, is the individual investor. So very, very key. I'm glad I took the time to do the research to ensure I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. So Chris Jordan makes a great point, a great point. I tell you what, I'm guilty of learning on the fly. I really am. I probably jumped in and made every mistake in the book. No doubt about it. I guess the irony in the whole thing is what the potential could be for some of these young folks that are making their way into the community. And they're like, yep, Ryan, got it. Young folks now, they're sharp. They get it. They're like, God dang, okay. You should really come on and say, okay, I had this old cadger. which is everybody's compound annual growth rate, but I'm an old cadger. Okay. But anyway, people come in and they're like, you know what? God dang, this guy's amassed a fortune off really not a whole lot of, I don't come from money. Okay. It's a pretty typical salary that I've had, that of which I haven't earned my whole life. I started earning my salary, which was about $28,000 a year when I was 26, 27 years old, to give you some relative freaking perspective on this deal. Okay. So if you're 19, 20, 21, and you're hitting the ground running and you're pulling in 50, 60, maybe 100 grand, on the flip side of that, I've seen folks that make that income and they piss it all away. Okay. So I come back and digress. If you can limit the mistakes that you could potentially make, I'm interested to see some of those canaries, and where they're going to be when they're my age at 42. Scary, scary. The prospects of getting involved in the market in that capacity, and really looking back over their career and saying, I entered the market error free. So you're right with regard to the research. I would be a lot more specific about what you mean by research, because I got to be honest with you, my success in the market has nothing to do with me being an analyst. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in thinking that they can't succeed in the market if they're not some sort of a stock analyzer, right? The analysts get it wrong too. You'll see similarities if you compare my portfolio to a JMac investing portfolio or a Gen X dividend investor. You're going to see some of the same stocks in those portfolios. Why? It's because we're all seeing the same thing. Okay. There's not a hybrid version of McDonald's. Okay. There's only one. You see what I mean? So my point is, don't overthink it. I think a lot of my motivation and grassroots understanding of investing has come from the good books that I've read. Very simple. Anybody can do it. Pick up some of the favorite books. That's what I encourage any of the channel creators that haven't come out with their favorite books. We're coming into holiday season. I asked for a hard copy of Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. I wanted a hard copy of it because it's one of my favorites, and I really want to go through it and actually and mark it up. But what a great gift idea! Good grief, how many people think about that for a gift idea? Pretty awesome. So for you folks that are involved in the white elephant gift and exchange at work, man, just giving you some ideas. But I really appreciate that comment. I think you're right on the money. Um, just don't overthink it, and don't think that you ever got this thing licked, because like I said at the top of the program, it's an evolution that should be with you the rest of your life. It's not one of those things that just because you're an investor, you're automatically entitled to deem yourself a successful investor. You don't get to do that until you reflect back on your life and really can track where it is that you were and where you are. That will be the ultimate, because I mean, I could fall on tilt right now, sell everything, buy, 5 Corvettes, and I'm done, right? Does that mean I'm a successful investor? No, it would mean I'm a failure when it comes to making sound financial decisions. You have to stay steadfast on your program, and your ability to do that. I think your diligence and discipline mean probably more to me than research. Okay. And I mean that. You can do all the research in the world, and dividend investors, the best researcher on YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, he would agree with me on this. You can do all the research in the world, buy the perfect stock goes down 20%, and you're like, what the hell happened? It happens. The stock market is one of the most humbling places. You put a lot of time and effort picking that perfect stock out, the one that's going to take you into the horizon, and it ends up dumping on you 20%. You're like, God dang, what the hell? What does everybody else know that I don't know? That doesn't exist. Okay. So take investing for what it is and don't worry about what it's not. Okay. That's a really good question. Thank you. Really good comment. I really appreciate it. It's super cool. Anyway, I'm finally riding the wave. Frustrated I waited this long. I'd like to know how old you are, Chris. Stop beating yourself up, man. Like I said, you only get one shot at this gig, and that's the last thing on my mind in retrospect is to look at all the things I've said many, many times. I sold my first car to start my Roth IRAs. That's what I did, man, because I didn't have the starting capital. I didn't have it. I was in hawk with the IRS not once but twice. Okay, first in the tune of $7,500, the second in the tune of $5,500. Okay. Did I cry about it? No. I got up, dusted myself off, and got myself out of trouble. Now, in retrospect, it was a drop in the bucket to where we've been able to go now. But just think of the potential of avoiding some of those landmines earlier on in life. I wish somebody would have been there to provide, maybe to me, what I'm looking to provide to some of you guys. And I know a lot of you guys, you don't need a father figure, but you understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of kids nowadays that need proper coaching, man, and that's all there is to it. There's other aspects of life, mental, spiritual, physical, etc. All those things. I don't profess to be an expert on those things. If you want to follow me and run like a savage in the dark, like I did tonight, you're welcome to come and run with me. If you can keep up, because I'm a pretty powerful fella. It's all right here, okay? But finances is the thing, okay? That's where we can really reach the most amount of people and probably make the most impact for people. To be quite honest with you, I'm so excited to offer this 2 hours every single week. You guys have no idea. Um, I really do look for that prospect of that one starting investor that's 19, maybe makes their way in here, and I pa, 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 ta, 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 ETFs, single stock, quality, best of breed, da 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 da, da, and here's them, and avoid mistakes, and get this right, and not this. You see what I mean? I am aimed at those people. On the flip side of it, I'm also aimed at that one person that may come onto the channel and be like, "Holy crap! All right, have you seen this guy on YouTube? He's pretty interesting." And I've had a couple of those that have been pretty interesting. Um, but whether or not that happens or not, I'm in my element doing what it is that I love, and there's no substitute for that at all. And good on YouTube for allowing a guy like me to come on and talk from the comforts of my living room. Yeah, the comforts of my living room and talk to you fine people. Hmm. You betcha. Gadger. Gadger. Christian, okay. To try to cherry pick, yes, the Vanguard Utility ETF makes sense because the rates of return are so similar with the utilities. It yields over 3%. And my perspective on that is I just couldn't come to a determination on owning single stock. I own that. It's the only one I own twice, to be honest with you. It's the only ETF I own in M1 Finance and in one of the Roth IRAs. But I do own Fortis as a single stock. It's very good. Canadian utility play. I think they're down into the Midwest as well, but that yields close to 4%. That's a good one. I'd rather own that than Southern Company, and then Duke Energy, which is that stock slowly makes people rich. So that was a purchase this week, actually, a new addition to the portfolio. So I was really satisfied with owning Duke Energy. Really checked most of the boxes that I would look for in a good utility. Dominion Energy is the other one that I really like. Those two are basically my favorite, and then probably a Southern Company right behind that, and then a Nextera behind that. So that's where we are. All right. Anyway, just V6, but I don't have a monthly payment. Hidden Freedom Investing says Nextera is good too. I didn't, I just said that. So thank you for that. I agree with you. And Duke, Southern Edison. Okay. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So appreciate that. Hidden Freedom Investing. I know great minds think alike. There's only so many good quality companies out there to mull over, guys, and that's the beauty of it. And that's something to where I'm always I'm always amazed and intrigued at. This is kind of a hobby for me, and I don't mean to downplay the importance of financial stewardship and investing and all that, but I do have a lot of fun. I'm a dork. I'll get on and invest, look over my watch list, look to do a little bit deeper dive on a particular stock just for the hell of it. So I'm not asking it to be that high of a priority for you, but when we get to how to invest in the market, you're going to need to make investing probably as high a priority as you can. There's a lot of people that I talk to that investing is not a priority at all. Okay. They want it to be, and they talk about it as it's important, but it's really not. The spending is not indicative of someone who is really willing and able to make the concessions necessary to pay themselves first, and that's really what it kind of comes down to. They want to be able to get that paycheck and spend that paycheck, and they don't know how to intercept that money from themselves and get that rechanneled into an investment bucket, and that's a big key. That's a big key. I mean, we're just at a minute, 1 hour into the live stream, and that's a big takeaway. Ask yourself, how big of a priority is this something that you want to do? Is this something that really it's not for everybody? I contend that it should be. I think it's more insane not to invest. I really do. I just there's no way in hell I would be where I'm at now without the assistance of putting some capital to risk and being a participant in as many good companies as I possibly can justify for myself. And that rationalization is something that I challenge each and every one of you guys to go through the deliberation of, again, coming back to why invest. But when you get to the how and you're ready to deploy it, make investing a priority. If it hasn't been such a priority in 2018, 2019, make it more of a priority going into 2020. You'll be glad that you did. Okay? It really will. It'll drive a lot of your spending decisions as well. It's really good. All right. Got Matt M, unique, authentic, and genuine. I'm not sure what that is all about, but thank you if it's for me. I'll take it. I don't think it was, but no, for like 70,000 for the best one. Oh, you guys are talking about cars, I think, a DeLorean. Exactly, with the flux capacitor. You betcha. Hey, Ryan, how much should value? So I hit that. Since the old adage is buy low and sell high, do you think the US steel will bounce back? I think X is a buy right here. I actually looked at that as a potential. The real hot potentials I'm looking at actually, I should have stayed with Kroger. That was a trade that I took, but I'm already overweight in energy with my positions in ExxonMobil, which I think is phenomenal. It's such an easy stock. I think I'm down about a grand. I think in ExxonMobil, I've owned it for multiple years. I'm totally fine. If I was underweight energy, I think in retrospect, I just got a little over levered to that position. I wish I would have scaled into the position a little bit more carefully. I grabbed a big position in it, and I've suffered over the last couple of years in the position, which is fine. I'm totally fine, but it doesn't allow me any type of cap to buy into the oil services field, which I feel Schlumberger is really attractive right here. I like Devon Energy as well, ticker symbol DVN. That's another one. Oil's really starting to be interesting. I'm interested in the Saudi Aramco deal. I'm interested to watch that IPO come. I will not be investing in it because of my current positions in oil with Royal Dutch Shell, Chevron, and Exxon. I really do. I've got the three biggest, so I'm good. There's a lot of other quality companies that I could stomach investing as well. Total Energy is another one. Of course, Marathon Petroleum, one of my favorites. I already own Marathon Oil. So you guys know those are spackled in many different buckets for me, but and Marathon being in the first trade account in a lot smaller position, but that's marched back quite nicely. And then ExxonMobil might be turning here. It might be. We'll see what happens. I'm not, energy's just been out of favor this entire year. Um, Things change, okay, and they change quickly. in the investing landscape. The idea behind diversification is to have as much access to all 11 sectors as you can possibly have. Very, very important. If you can't seek out the diversification, or at least as close as you can to single stock diversification, I know there's a lot of people who think that it's possible. I'm not one of them. I'm really not. I think single stock investors do surrender some of what I consider proper diversification in a portfolio. I really do. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know what Gen X would say about that. But I do think to truly be diversified, you really need to own a multi, an across the entire sector ETF, whether it be Spider or a total market ETF, to be truly diversified. I don't care if you own 20 or 30 stocks. That to me is not diversified, even if you do have representation from all 11 sectors. All right. Really good stuff. The Tesla trucks, the I know. I like suing Uber, laugh out loud. They have $1 million policies. Very cool. Travis Williams in the group is the only channel creator. Remember, I don't think I gave the proper shout out. So, Travis Williams, I'm glad you made your way in here. He says, Uber, no thanks. I'm with you on that. I really am. I said speculative long. So if it ends up being $125 here shortly, just I'll remind you just for fun. It'll be fun to do just do some paper trading on Uber right now, just to kind of see where it goes. I think that'd be a lot of fun, but speculative long. I think there's some pretty good value here at $29 a share. Let's have some fun. My real money is not going into it, so it's fun to talk about. But I tend to agree with you. Replace Tesla with Uber. Good stuff. Replace Tesla with Uber. I think either one of those would get a lot of subscribers. I don't know. I'm just trying to be funny. There's no way in hell that his number one stock in his portfolio is either one of those two names. Um, I knew it was. I knew he owned Coke for sure. That's a no brainer. That was an awesome video that he turned out this evening. I really appreciate that offering. So pretty cool. Sorry that I no longer consume Altria products. Don't be sorry about that. I'm not a big fan of them myself, to be honest with you. But from a stock perspective, I really didn't like what I saw in Altria. I did from Philip Morris. I was satisfied, and I'll take the fat dividend to boot. I really didn't need a whole lot of additional exposure to the staples. I did need exposure to discretionary. That was the biggest rationalization behind not being able to find another discretionary name in the mix other than Amazon that I wanted to invest in. That quite frankly made the decision for myself. It was pretty simple. Um, there's some other discretionary names out there that are good. I think I did double up on the Nike position as well. Starbucks obviously is a good one. Took some trading profit in Ross. I think those are going to be seasonal names. Will probably continue to move up over the long term, but that was totally fine. And then took another trading profit in TJ Maxx. Good grief! I can't hold that stock very long. I took the profits in both of them, and I was happy to do so. So Lydia says I miss my Amazon share. Yeah, I'm gonna get this one right this time. I've got a personal vendetta. It's been one of the few stocks I've been unsuccessful in trading, so I'm gonna change my philosophy a little bit and invest in the thing. So I guess they have a love-hate relationship. Good. I remember you saying you would never own cigarette stocks on multiple occasions. Yeah, no, exactly. Why the change of heart? I own lots of them, so I don't care, but wondering why the flop. That's true. I did say, and I've always said, never want to make a morality decision when you're talking about stock. And it's come up a few times. Certain people won't own certain names because of it. But I just thought that at $80 a share, with that dividend, with the exposure that I needed in my portfolio to increase the dividend, I was looking at two Staples names, and I liked them both. Could have just as easily invested in both of them. Mondelez being one, and Philip Morris being the other. And did a deep dive on both. I didn't need to so much on the Mondelez side, but Philip Morris I did. and I was satisfied with what I found. So, really just looking to increase that dividend exposure. Lot of positive base. It's been forming a nice base here in the 70s and 80s. And I think it was probably a pretty good entry across the landscape that's not providing very many entries into the stock. And I wanted something that was going to provide me some dividend income, something that I could own long term. So there really wasn't a whole lot of negative I found about it, other than the obvious, smoking is bad, and that really wasn't good enough for you. I think I've been more adamant about not owning growth in the portfolio. And that's what I thought I was going to take some abuse over, and rightfully so. But when I talked about being open-minded with your investing approach and philosophy, I meant that. I really do. And at the time when I was talking about that, that was my strategic vision on the portfolio. That's what I wanted to deploy. Um, but those four names were the ones that I opened up. There's others as well that I like in the growth category. PayPal being one of them, Alibaba being in the mix there for sure. You know, could have probably justified on valuation owning Alibaba, except for its Chinese stock, and I just don't. I would rather go with Amazon, and that's the decision I made. I'm sticking to it. But you're right, absolutely. And to each his own. I mean, it could be a winning move, it could be a losing move. We'll see. I got a 50-50 shot at it. We'll see what happens. But appreciate that. I heard that they were looking at getting married again. I wonder what you guys are talking about. I opened up the extra bedroom door and went out and climbed on my $700 Italian leather jacket, jacked it all up. Good stuff. I'm gonna cruise down here if I can. There's Ryan Giffen. So he's also channel. He's popped in there. Alibaba has been on a tear. Yeah, it has. It's always in the discussion. Every time I invest in Alibaba, I do trade it. I don't necessarily invest. It's certainly one of those stocks that you can invest in, but I'm currently not in the name, and I won't buy it here. But I've been buying it strategically ever since it's been on its tear, as you say, from 130, and been in and out of the name, made money every time on it. It's been good, but I'm satisfied with the Amazon decision, so that's what we did. Loving being an owner of Five Below, thanks to JMac. Yeah, Five Below has been a real winner, and I think it's going to continue to do well throughout the holiday season. That's a really good pick. I really like that. I like to see those discussions going on, and I like to see people deploying those decisions and taking a little shot and making it a win. There's lots of different ways to win, and I think this group needs to get used to winning. Needs to get used to winning. There's some humbling times. Don't get me wrong; they're not all going to be wins, but why invest? Why? Okay. If you can't chalk together a nice string of wins over the course of your life, then you're grossly underestimating the power of the stock market. And I would encourage you to get over that barrier. Okay. This is not gambling. This is real. And you have the ability to control your hand. I love that. You give me the ability to control my hand, I'll win. I'll win. The key is to take some of that recipe and maybe bring some others along with us. And I do not profess to have all the answers. I really don't. But there's a lot of savvy investors in here who have sought out and achieved a lot of different levels of success in the market. So it's not just me. Okay. There's a lot of people who are reaching those success milestones in their life, and coming on here and sharing it, I'm in debt to you, because it does nothing other than validate to new investors. Man, if I was 19 years old here in this live stream, I wouldn't sleep. No freaking way. There's no way in hell I would sleep after watching this. No way. I'd be like, I'm a winner. And you should feel that way. You really should. It's it's a magical thing, man, when you feel empowered in that you have some hope, you know? The title of this video, I wasn't kidding, man, of all the garbage information, people looking to ramrod sales to you and not give two craps about you at all. They don't care. They don't care if you're prepared to enter the market. They don't care about taking you through a systematic approach to what I feel is an important deliberation exercise to go through before you put one single dollar into the market. Nobody does that stuff anymore, guys. Nobody. Okay. Um, and there are a few. There are a few in this group, and I'm in debt to you guys for sure for helping to come in and helping us support the message and reach out to those folks who may be kind of sitting back in the not commenting and being like, man, this is crazy, and it is. It's life changing. Ryan, what's your opinion on mega trend investing? Thanks and love your channel. Um, Guess I'd wanna know sales channels suck, just my opinion, of course. I guess what I mean by that is trying to sell information with regard to stock investing, and you guys know how I feel about the financial investing, landscape. I think that in and of itself is modern day highway robbery. But I'm just talking about people who come onto YouTube and they're making a ton of money, and good on them for doing that. I just question the impact that they make on people. That's it. And if somebody like myself comes on and says, I feel like I was rich 20 years ago, which I absolutely mean, but then I turncoat the opportunity and I just start selling course. I don't think anybody would buy a course. Because I wouldn't buy it because the information's freaking free of charge on the internet. All you have to do is get an internet connection, spend the money that you were going to pay me on a course to buy an internet connection. Okay. And then go find the information for yourself free of charge because I won't be selling you a course, nor will I be buying a course from anyone else. Okay. And I would encourage you to take a second guess on doing just that. All right. On mega trend investing, I'd kind of like to know what you mean by that. I'm a little bit confused on what you mean by that. Forgive me if I'm missing something that's really really simple. So John Doe, I'm at the bottom of the thread. If you want to just hit me up again and give me a little bit of clarity on that, Ryan, buddy, do you think you will have a hard time actually taking profits and using them to live on? I see many people having a hard time actually retiring because of fear of having enough. Man, that's a legit question. Holy smokes, man. I could spend the rest of the live stream answering that question. It's so funny, man. What I said about the one word of perspective, I living in the United States of America, man, is not hard. Okay. I think that discomfort in most people's backside that they don't know is there, but should absolutely acknowledge that's there, is the silver spoon. Okay. Now, I don't mean that to be rude to Americans, but actually, I kind of do because we are extremely naive. Okay. Investing and having the ability to invest in this country is a luxury. It's a luxury. Okay. Maslow's hierarchy, right? I don't worry about putting food on the table. Okay. There's people that will go through their whole life and they cannot get past that stage of development in that they don't know when the next meal they're going to have is. Okay. And I don't mean to preach to you guys, but if you don't think that I mean that when I say that about perspective, you're wrong. And I would say this: I do, in fact, care more about my program than I do about the money. What I mean by that is, um, with the job that I actually have, I may actually be able to rely on a pension, which actually helps my investing philosophy. And so I don't foresee myself having to rely on my investing income to provide myself the opportunity to pay a mortgage or survive on. Um, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Um, Perhaps maybe living in a forecastle of a commercial fishing vessel for a long, long time allowed me the greatest opportunity in my life, and that's to gain perspective. And that's something that millionaires around the world would kill to have. They would kill to have my perspective because I just don't care. I just don't care. Um, I think it would be lovely for the potential of leaving a legacy. I think that would be great as long as they can appreciate it. They're not ever going to have to work as hard as I've worked for what I've got. Um, but I won't be retiring. Guys like me don't retire. I enjoy what I do so much. I don't look at my life as being, you know, I've got earmarked a retirement age, and that's in line with my Roth IRA um, contribution eligibility, 59 and a half, I guess. But I don't really want to ever look at my life as crossing a finish line. No way. I've said many times on the channel too, I actually foresee myself doing this well into retirement, perhaps sitting in my home somewhere. My ultimate goal in life is to build a home on a piece of property. That's a piece from my own playbook. I give it away willingly. Okay. My goal is not to accumulate enough wealth so I can buy a bunch of crap. Okay. I very rarely buy stuff for myself. I've talked to you guys a little bit about the deliberation that I go through before I make a stupid purchase. Whether I walk around the mall and I see all the ugly sweaters hanging up at Macy's, guys, they have an entire floor that's devoted to this. And for me, I'm questioning who the hell buys this stuff, but people buy it. They do. They've got their bags and they're stoked to get their ugly sweaters on, I guess. And for you guys that own ugly sweaters, I don't mean to offend, but um, how high is investing on the priority list for you? Okay. You can obviously tell where it is for me. Why? It feels right. It feels right. There's not one of my goals that are here or written down that tells me that I need to accumulate X number of dollars to somehow be able to hang it up. I don't operate that way. I don't. And I would consider you guys, I would challenge you guys again to make your financial goals unique to you. You don't need to prescribe to cliche messages that society says that you need to prescribe to. Okay. The United States is really, really bad at this. Like we have some idea of what success means and it's already predestined for you. How about you do yourself a favor? All right. Do whatever you got to do to get rid of that. Okay. And start from a blank canvas. You'll be glad that you did. When I talk about liberated, that's exactly what I mean. Because most people are slaves. They are slaves to their everyday accounts, multiple department store cards in their wallet. They think that they own a house that's actually owned by the bank. They think that they own two cars that are both actually owned by the bank. They are actually owned by the amount of utilities that they pay month in and month out. They are actually owned by what it is that they think is important in life, and they don't really focus on what the most important thing in life is, and that's yourself. And I'm not talking about being self-indulged. I'm just talking about trying to trim away at all those things. You know, I rent, okay? I think I own my truck, but I don't really. I still own 20 grand on it. Okay. That's the aspect of my truck that I don't own. Bank of America does. Okay. Perspective. But I think that's a cool question. I'd have to make like a couple YouTube videos out of that. I don't think if you guys know me for a while, it's really, you guys know how to poke the bear. And it's usually fun to do that because you'll get my most honest reaction when you ask me questions like that. But hopefully you're able to glean some perspective on what we're all trying to achieve in life. Again, if you can separate that degree of where you were predestined to go and where you kind of, based on free will, are able to change the direction and grab a little bit more control over your life, that's one of the basic things that I am able to gather from people who are not in control of their finances. It's because they're controlled by everything else. That bill that's due times 26 every single month owns them Talking about paying themselves makes no sense to somebody like that because they are owned by society. They are owned. Start to cut some of that stuff back. And the minute you recognize that taking the power back for yourself is liberating, it's spiritually enriching, and it's empowering, man. It really is. It's really, really good stuff. I had a comment here from Wandering Soul. I like that. I like that screen name. It's pretty good. Real estate prices will go up once climate change makes all the igloos melt and Eskimos have to move. REITs will see a great boom. That's a little more fun of a comment for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. A little more closer to home. I guess I hesitate a little bit more buying property on the next to the ocean. I'm one that respects the power of the ocean. I think I'd probably be more inclined to buy somewhere on some property, maybe with a creek and some rocks and some trees. And if I could throw a line in the creek and pick some trout, that'd be awesome. Perhaps maybe someday when I have a 500,000 subscribers, maybe it'd be a good spot to actually invite some of the good folks in my community out for a nice retreat. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Again, one of the fundamental goals of my channel is to bring people together. And I believe we're succeeding in that goal. I really do. I think there's obviously a ton of people that catch this after the live stream, but every Friday does nothing for me other than validate how important people find this topic to be. And I'm humbled at the opportunity to mediate the conversation. I really do. I only look at my position in this outfit as being just that, as just a facilitator of a discussion, because I think it's worth having. And very serious about that for sure. There have been a ton of people who have made their way in here. This was actually the most successful live stream. I didn't want to comment when it was going on, but we almost had 100 in here at the same time. But don't feel bad if you hit the subscribe button. I'm not going to send you a bill. Okay, I'm not going to give you a 30-day free trial of the Independent Investor channel and then start charging you. Okay, all the information's free of charge. But doesn't take but a couple seconds. I think Google says that I'm doing a good job if you do end up doing that. If you don't want to and you think I suck, then please don't. All right. I got Sarah Logston. People think spending money on crap because they don't truly want to take a look at themselves and do the work to be who they really should be. It is fear and complacency. So I just had to watch Into the Wild again. I speak about it all the time because all the minimalists who come out and talk on YouTube and, they're not. They're not minimalists, okay? Let me break it to you. True minimalism is there are people who believe that money in and of itself is an illusion, and there's a real root to truth to that. There really is. Um, I just think in a consumer driven society like the US, it's pretty crazy because we're always inundated with temptation. And, we're subjects of our own demise, I guess, as we're brought up and we're mentally conditioned to prescribe to the nice car and the nice house and all that jazz. I don't know how I broke away other than getting out and commercial fishing on the ocean for a long time allowed me to take that break away from society a little bit and pay attention to those things that matter. Staying alive. That's important. Staying healthy so you can work to maintain a living. Respect for nature, things of that nature. And if you don't get caught up in the rat race like I was close to becoming a victim of, it allows me to offer that unique perspective. And it is. If you're ever interested, go work on a fishing boat for a while and then come back and talk to me. We'll swap some stories. Really cool. So he says, I had a 840 score for a while. Didn't care too much because I didn't use it for much. I think you're in Europe. Are you not, Money Matters? I thought you were over in Europe and Germany, perhaps. Or are you in the US? You can just answer right away. I'm at the bottom of the thread. Didn't care too much because I didn't use it for much. Now I'm getting to travel and to hack and try to fly to dream destinations on free miles and free lodging. Yeah, interesting enough. I as well have over an 800 and I'm renting. So The real benefit to me would be if I bought a house and or financed. I'm really kind of getting away from the whole idea of financing and things like that. Good night, kid.
Good night.
Good night. Have a
Love
good.
you.
Love you too, kid. Love you too. That's my guest. That's my guest for this evening. My collaboration with my daughter.
Hi.
Thanks, kid. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It mine's over 800 too. In the U.S., it's pretty important to try to get that, to get as low a financing as you can. They still haggled with me on the Tacoma, but it is what it is. So I'm going to try to keep up. Your channel's truly inspiring and motivational. Keep up the great work. We will. I do want to premise that anybody can do this stuff. What I'm talking about really isn't that special. Outside of, I hope people are receiving the message the way that you just turned back to me that I think they are, if that makes some sense. Um, Investing sometimes is misconstrued like it's some mystery. It's some ancient mystery that everybody has to prove. I've never checked my FICO score. That's Gen X dividend investor. That's funny. Greg Cami says Ryan is truly rich. I do believe that. I absolutely do. Um, I don't know what it would feel like to have wealth, or it'd be an interesting science experiment, I guess. Because I'm pretty powerful with money. I do believe that money can create different things. One of my favorite videos that I've ever done is the forms of money. That's one of my favorites. I thought it was a really deep topic, and I should redo the topic because I have a deeper understanding of what I meant by putting that video out there. And a lot of people understand that money is just a paycheck. It comes in and then it goes back out. I disagree. Money can be a lot of different things. Money can be food for somebody that doesn't have it. Money can be an initiative that makes something happen that needs to happen for somebody who can't make it happen without the means to make it happen. I don't think I could repeat what I just said, but it was pretty cool what I just said if you heard it. Okay. Um, but that I truly do believe in. And the cool thing about this channel that I teach upon at its core is teaching people how to take a little bit of money and turn it into a lot of money. The ability to have enough imagination to know that it is possible to take a little bit of money and turn it into a pretty sizable amount of wealth. So I really appreciate that. That's really cool. But we're trying to hit on those themes. And I look at my position on the channel as identifying those areas that we can scale and really talk to people. And the majority of people can sit across from the message and say, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Hold on, that sounds really, really hard. Did Ryan do that? Yep, Ryan did it. Therefore, I've got some confidence that maybe I can do it too. That's the beauty of it, because I do contend that I sometimes just kind of am in awe about how confused people are about the power of their potential. I see it. It's one of my strengths. I can see potential in people that people cannot see in themselves. No doubt about it. And it's just like, let me just tweak this a little bit. You're not giving yourself enough credit here, but you need to be a little bit harder on yourself over here. And you're not going to get any love from me as far as this goes. Okay. Like you need to stop doing this. What are you doing? Why? What benefit are you getting out of this? And I guess that may be where some of the unique perspective on the channel comes through. I think that's cool. But we're going to continue to drive that point home so people really can hear those things. And if you miss a couple of the lessons, that's okay. It's that one that you pick up and you're like, dang, I can take that for action and really um, and really help enrich my life. That's the magic of it. It's really cool. And I think there needs to be more of that. I really do. All right. Ryan, if you had 100,000 right now, how will you invest it? I need your help. So awesome, man. I got Emmanuel Sylvester. So please understand there's a lot of savvy investors in this group, number one. But I actually think your question is coming from a very, very genuine place. But I will say this. I'm not a financial advisor. I actually despise the profession, to be honest with you. I think a credential could just as easily be used to wipe your backside, to be honest with you. I don't think it creates morality. I don't think it creates a relationship that has the client's best interest in mind. I don't. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you from a perspective. If I had $100,000, how would I invest it in the market? You didn't tell me a couple critical things that would need to be known. Okay. I've been talking a little bit about why you invest, but to make it easier on you, give me some idea from a 1 to 10 what your risk tolerance to the market is. A 5 being midline, a 10 being you like all Bitcoin, a 1 being you just want to be ultra conservative and buy nothing but bonds. Okay. Um, Risk tolerance is important to try to take a wag at, to try to assess what type of volatility you could look to expose your money to, and come out on the other side unscathed. What I mean by that is, could you live through a severe downturn in your money if you were new to the market? Sleep easy, have the discipline and the risk tolerance to weather those storms. Okay. I would like to understand the condition of my savings account. So if I was bestowed upon 100,000, and I know there's a lot of people who sometimes get inheritance monies. I've dealt with that many, many times. And it happens, you get a little windfall of money via inheritance, etc., whatever it may be. And I would look to boost up the savings account, certainly. So if you're starting with zero, there's obviously some work there to be done. If you have some existing savings and they're okay, if you're working with a solid job. If you don't have a job, 100,000 bucks is not that much money. Don't mean to burst your bubble, but 100,000 bucks is not that much. So it says a risk tolerance of 8. That's pretty aggressive. So a risk tolerance of 8 with the market in its current condition would really qualify you to buy a lot of different things. I would stay away from high growth or hyper growth right now. And then I would need to understand how old you are, right? What's your investing time horizon? So throw that in the bottom of the group. Give me your age, Emmanuel, right? So your age will help to define that investing landscape a little bit. So we need to understand that if you're 50 with the market at an all-time high as opposed to 20, I do. I have a solid job and I'm 60 years old, right? So that changes the perspective a little bit about understanding out of that $100,000 how much you're comfortable with subjecting to the market, right? So if I was 60 and I look at the market every day. I'm very aware of what the market has done, at least since I've been alive. Um, Historically, it's returned a significant amount with some hiccups, major, I will say, along the road. And I would say at 60 years old, capital preservation would be one of the key goals that I would have for that money. And, if you were really looking at deploying a risk tolerance of an 8 in the market and you really wanted to get some exposure to the market, it comes down to, where do I invest? That's a big one. What broker do you want to go with? Where are you going to place these assets? So what type of, are you going to start a brokerage account or a joint? If you're married, you've got a spouse, etc. You're probably going to do something like that, but to pick your account and then to pick some of the assets in there, I really don't think there's anything wrong with taking a significant amount of that, let's say half, and putting it to cash, half of it, you know, taking 25% of the other and exposing it to some risk, 25 and 25. So you got 50 to cash, 25 and 25 fixed equities. And I'd look at the Vanguard's shopping mall. If you cruise to the very top of this thread, I've made the link available within the thread of discussion on this live stream. you're welcome to kick into that ETF listing. In that ETF listing, you're going to find all the fixed income products that are there, all the total market stock ETFs that are there. If you wanted to seek a little bit more dividend exposure, I invest in most of them. I do. I own positions in VYM. I own positions in VYMI, which is domestic dividend paying companies, international dividend paying companies. I own emerging markets. I own VEA, which is developed markets. Okay. VOO obviously is a flagship product out there on the market. And I only offer that from an awareness perspective and a testimonial insofar as I own the company. I own that product myself. I own VOO and I own VTI. I own both of them. I own VYM. I own VYMI. Okay. I own VB. I own VBK. I own VBR. You're going to find all these examples within the listing of 57 ETFs on that ETF website. So not only did we provide a ton of options for you, I could name off 10 brokers that could be. There was a hell of a thread at the beginning of the live stream talking about Charles Schwab, Fidelity, TD, Ameritrade, Bank of America, Merrill, who is mine and a personal favorite of mine. Um, M1 Finance obviously is kind of a crowd favorite in the underground investing world. So I think it has some drawbacks. That's just my own personal opinion, but I get people who get irritated with me every time I say that. But that's just my honest opinion. It has some drawbacks. Okay. First Trade, those two, the Independent Investor Channel are affiliated with. I assume that you're already with a broker of your choice, whether it be Vanguard, Bank of America, Fidelity, any one of those. And the cool thing about it is a lot of people don't understand that they can own Vanguard products with any broker. Okay. So, for example, if you wanted to own a Vanguard product and a Fidelity account, JMac Investing is going to get mad at me because he likes his Fidelity ETFs. But those good quality products are going to be super good, low cost, get you that diversification right up front, earn you a small yield if you go with the dividend approach or the total market approach. But you're going to find all the information that you could ever want on that Vanguard's website. And again, the link is at the top of the thread. I've provided that to answer that very question for investors like yourself who are looking to seek some exposure. I will just premise this. I offer those percentages only to provide you a benchmark. Okay. You see how I took 100% and I split it up into percentages. Half go to cash. Boom. There's nothing wrong. Put it in a high yield savings, reap your 2.5% in a high yield savings. Good to go. 25%. If you want to play with that, 25,000 bucks is a lot of money. It's a lot. Okay. $25,000. If you were comfortable with seeking that level of exposure with that amount of money, awesome. The rest of it, 25 to fixed income. You'll see there on the Vanguard's ETF website. I invest in 8 of those, I believe. Um, International BNDX, you'll see ticker symbol for BND. That's the total bond market ETF. Pretty awesome. It gets you some capital appreciation and a dividend yield to boot monthly, I might add. So it's pretty cool. Good way to seek out your fixed income there. Get yourself a little bit of safety built into the portfolio. Do I think you need to be taking 100 grand and throw it into Tesla? You're not going to get any such advice. I'm a fundamental wealth builder. Okay. I don't believe that people have the ability to come on to YouTube or anywhere for that matter and just give you a magic wand and say, hey, shake it at these 3 stocks and it's going to make you a millionaire. I don't believe in that. Um, I would go so far as to say that it would probably set you up for failure anyway, right? So the thread that just popped in there, Greg Cami just offered for you, was about as the best free nugget that you could have ever got by just kicking into a random live stream on YouTube. Uh, your secret is safe with me. You don't have to tell anybody that you got your investing coaching from YouTube, because a lot of people would laugh you out of the room. But make no mistake about it, this information is not laughable. And my results speak for themselves. Good on me for not keeping it a secret and subjecting myself to the scrutiny that I get over YouTube. I also get a lot of love, but I also subject myself to scrutiny for sharing a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. But I give you some credit for coming on and offering your question, because I really do think you were coming from a very, very genuine place. But the takeaway from that lesson, it's the same approach that I would take with anybody asking the same question. I have X number of monies. I need to look at what I could potentially do in addition to just leaving it into a high yielding savings account. Those are some of the best options if you heard me out. And the fundamental takeaway is to understand that taking any amount of money and aligning it with a percentage breakdown that makes sense for you can be adjusted anyway. If you don't like what I said about the 50 to cash, adjust it. Okay. I don't I'm not a believer in saying you have to do this, with that. I don't believe in that. If not only am I not allowed to do that, okay, that's why I answer the question in a way that if I were gonna take that $100,000 and invest it, um, I would be looking to deploy that capital in a manner that would set you up for the opportunity to have what it is that I have currently at 100,000, a nice diversified base in some ETFs to start. If you like the idea of some single stock investing, certainly there's some fairly decent value out there that you can always find in a good quality name. You can buy Coca-Cola anytime you want. Okay. Gen X dividend investors probably cringing, like, come on, Ryan, I got it at a perfect price. No, you didn't. Nobody does. Okay. But you don't have to over justify buying a good quality dividend king like Coca Cola. You don't have to do that. McDonald's, I'd throw in the same category. And I'm not meaning to impugn his, we both invest in the same two stocks. We both invest in a lot of similar stocks. And there's a reason for that. It's because we don't overthink the system. Okay. You don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed to justify buying a company like Home Depot or Disney. Okay. You don't. You just have to be aware. It's not that hard. Okay. So remember how I talked about adjusting the percentages of bracket to break up that money, right? That's where that could come into play a little bit if you wanted to add some single stock exposure, because you're not starting with $1,000. You're not starting with $10,000. You're dealing with a pretty nice chunk of capital at $100,000. That's serious money, Emmanuel. Serious money. But it gives you the freedom and flexibility to maybe enter into some of those additional opportunities that the market has. Even with that said, record highs, right? So run the deliberation of putting that work to some risk and then subjecting that money to a potential downturn over the next couple, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, who knows. It's inevitable that we'll probably go through one, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the stock market is roses all the time. As a matter of fact, I will tell you the complete opposite of that. The complete opposite. Okay, you need to be ready at all times to take the portfolio that you've built and worked hard on into a downturn. That's just the nature of the gig. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat the stock market for you. There's no such thing. It's just the stock market. Okay. And sometimes it does not taste good. All right. Hope that helped. Big Ben's road to early retirement says, do you recommend Admiral shares? That's the topic of my most popular video on YouTube. It's coded a little bit when I did my, it's my most popular video, and there's a reason for that. I don't think the Admiral shares are worth it at all. I've been able to determine that there's some minimum entry to buy the Admiral shares, which I think is $3,000. excuse me, you'll find the same if you go in there. But if you go into that website that I was telling you about on the ETFs with Vanguard, you're going to see if you click into VOO, it's going to give you the comparable Admiral share, which I believe is VTSAX, I believe. That'll give you the ability to check that out. Now, the cool thing about ETFs is they trade like a stock. There is no minimum entry to buy. Performance is exactly the same. Guys, I found no difference between the ETF and the Admiral Share Index Fund that Vanguard offers, other than the fact that they've found a way to take the exact same basket of stocks that they offer to investors and put a big fat bow on it and a minimum entry to invest in and make it seem like it's something that it's not. That's the best I can tell you. All right. It's cool to tell people that you're part of the Admiral shares, but that's about the only thing cool about it. So if you like being on the golf course and telling people that you're in the Admiral shares and you don't know the first freaking thing about what that means, I would recommend taking a hard look at the ETFs. If you take a look at my portfolio, you'll get the drift. Okay. I do not own one Admiral share in my portfolio, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So it was a hell of a question. Thank you very much. That really did hit on the on a very important question that I don't get asked very often, to be honest. So good on you for asking it. I know the Admiral shares are a very popular product from Vanguard, but I don't hold Vanguard in such high prestige that they're not open to scrutiny. To hell with that. And good on JMac Investing for pointing that out tonight. He's going to have a little contest going on with Fidelity. Let's see who wins that battle. That's pretty cool. Admiral shares are like a status symbol. I hate to impugn the product, but I've done a deep dive in both. It might be a product. One of my most loyal, smartest subscribers actually that tune into the message that sometimes pick up on little tidbits like this to compare. They've done away with the investor shares, I believe, for this very reason. You guys remember that, right? They used to have investor shares, and it used to carry with it a higher expense ratio. Now that garbage has gone away because they've just figured out that investors like me have figured out that there's no difference. It's just the exact same product in different clothing. That's it. So they've done away with that. They've dropped, you guys remember the $10,000 minimum to enter. And again, I think to all Good's point, she's talking about it being kind of a prestige thing. And I know there was a lot of people who would have killed to be part of the Admiral shares. I know there was some level of incentive, I believe, if you owned a Vanguard account, perhaps maybe the expense was on par with the ETF at 0.04 at the time. Now it's 0.03. Other than that, I'm not feeling it. Honestly, if I'm missing something, it's something small. I don't think I am. The performance, if you put the overlay of the charts on top of each other, they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same. So a hell of a question. Lydia says, what are Admiral shares? Yeah, so if you go into the Vanguard's listing, I've got the link at the very top, and then you click on the VOO, which is the S&P 500, and it'll bring you to the information screen. At the very top of it, it's going to give you the comparable index fund. And it's going to say, it's going to give you a hyperlink, and it's going to give you the Admiral shares. And then it's going to give you the breakdown on what's required to be a participant in the Admiral shares. That's what they are. I really just think it's the exact same product with a different packaging. So yeah, that's what that is. So anyway, guys, we're at an hour and 53, and we're improving the live stream every Friday. I'll continue to evolve with you guys. There's no doubt about it. I ran out of, I didn't get to the lesson that I actually had tonight. We kind of touched on part of it, but if I have the opportunity to jump into an opportunity with individuals who take time out of their evening to come on here and hit me with a question, I will certainly adjust the live screen to oblige those requests. That's why I do it. That's the number one thing that I look at when I'm looking to help folks when they come on and they throw questions at me directly. I'd like to open it up one of these times to actually a phone line, and we'll actually take phone calls during the live stream. That's going to be awesome. That'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun when I get some hate through a phone call because I'll leave it on speakerphone and you guys will all listen to me deal with people. That's when I'm really in my element for sure. It'd be a lot of fun. Someday we're going to do it for sure. It will happen. So Robert says, Ryan, did you hear about the new chicken sandwich McDonald's is rolling out? It apparently tastes great and will be cheaper than Chick-fil-A and Popeyes. Interesting. Well, if I could buy any stock in any fast food company, it would be Chick-fil-A. Popeyes is pretty good too. I hadn't heard about that. McDonald's is one of my biggest positions actually. Um, and I've had to buy it here at a valuation that I really wasn't comfortable with. It's fine. You got to pay up for quality, and I was willing to do so. But no, I hadn't heard that. But great, maybe it'll help the stock. We'll see. It'll be fun. Thank you for your time and great content. Have a wonderful weekend. I think all good signing off. Thank you very much. One of the most loyal members of the community. Certainly, you guys, if you want to start to phase out of the live stream, I'll probably go for another few minutes anyway. Got 2 hours kind of earmarked on these, in all fairness to the people who play it back, because they're riddled with commercials. There's nothing I can do about that. If you don't like the commercials, tune into the live version. Okay. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't go in and remove commercials from the auto placing that YouTube puts in there. That's fine. If you don't like them, skip them. My sympathy only goes so far. Okay. I would do this channel for free. The fact of the matter is, when you watch the ads, I get paid a little bit, and that helps support interesting things like my new YouTube chair, which I can tell you I'm significantly more comfortable now after 2 hours than I was on the previous 74 live streams that I've had. So I thank you for that. I really do. So anyway, what do you like better, apple pie or cherry pie? I'm sure he's probably asking me that. I'm more of a cheesecake fan, and I'm not really a pie fan. My wife ended up buying another caramel apple pie, which, if that's the only option that I have, see, I don't discriminate, especially if you put some ice cream on it, heat it up, and do some pie a la mode with some chocolate. Yeah, it's the holidays, man. It's the holidays. I wish you guys all the best. We're going to continue on with the schedule through the holiday season. I'm going to have some time off. The upload schedule will actually increase here shortly. I've got some topics that I want to roll out of the channel for sure. It's been kind of an ebb for me. We're going to start to flow again, and that's the way I like to roll for sure. But I just want to thank each and every one of the channel creators from taking their time to come on to the live stream. Your time is extremely important to me, as I know it's important to you. And for me to acknowledge that is important. I hopefully that's well received by you, because I don't like to waste my time, nor do I like to waste yours. But for the folks that made their way onto the channel that asked some of those questions of me tonight, thank you very much. That's the backbone of my intent to the channel, is to provide those opportunities. Hopefully we were able to reach those people. For those that made their way to the stream and did not ask their questions, certainly you can hit me up anytime via email. This is the easiest way to get a hold of me, right here through the YouTube Independent Investor live stream. I offer this pretty consistently on a Friday. I think that's the least that I can do, but I think it's a pretty good open window for people to come on and throw their legitimate questions right at me directly on the fly. And that's really what I like, is that opportunity to do just that. So Robert says, I can't wait for the calls on the stream. I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun for the first person that calls me and says I'm a complete idiot. That'll be fun. You guys will like how I handle stuff like that. It'll be entertaining. But really, I consider everyone who's making their way into the channel. We are fairly undiscovered at this point. We're a fairly small YouTube channel. And I just really appreciate all of you guys I consider plank owners. all the members and subscribers to the channel directly, and also a lot of the indirect channel creators that make their way in here and help support their mission as well. With that said, guys, I will wish everyone a happy holidays as we get later into December. We will continue with live stream 76 as we march toward 100. I don't know what we're going to do for 100. I'll probably need to have a three-way live or collaboration or something. I think that'd be fun. Maybe a three-way collaboration for live stream 100. That'd be cool. But in the meantime, we're going to continue on schedule and really pushing out the message and trying to reach people. That's the goal. We come full circle. You don't come on here for 2 hours to listen to me blah, blah, blah about it. It really is about the impact that we're making and reaching people and looking to change lives, just to what I've explained at the top of the stream. So guys, with that said, man, I will sign off, and we will catch you next week for 76. Take it easy. Have a great, great weekend.